The next group of consonants we'll cover are called the dentals. They are found here. And we're not going to spend too much time on them because they're almost identical to the English letters that they look like here. They're written with the English letters T, TH, D, and DH, and N. And they just sound almost like the English equivalents, except there is one important difference. These are called dentals because the tongue does touch the teeth to form these sounds. So make sure that your tongue is protruding forward and touching the back of the teeth when you make each and all of these sounds. We don't do that in English, which is why, again, I don't like the English examples that are given here. They are just approximations. So listen to how you hear me saying these words, and also pay attention to where your tongue is positioned. Make sure it's touching the back of the teeth, and then you'll have correct pronunciation on these. So reading across, it's ta, ta, da, da, na. Ta, ta, da, da, na. I'll do it one more time slowly. Ta, ta, da, da, na. Now, maybe holding my mouth more visible. Ta, ta, da, da, na. Notice how my tongue is touching my teeth for all of those. The examples are the English examples. Like I say, I don't like them. I will give this one Sanskrit example for the aspirated version. Actually, I'll distinguish also between the non-aspirated and the aspirated. Ta and ta. Tongue touching the back of the teeth for both of them. Ta and ta. The only difference being I contract the diaphragm to give an extra boost of air on the aspirated version, on the ta. Ta. So the Sanskrit example here for the aspirated ta is Rathot Savachalat. Do it slowly. Rathot Savachalat. Rathot Savachalat. And we'll move on to the next one, which is da. It's basically the same as the English da. And in fact, da, I think in English we do typically touch the tongue to the back of the teeth when we say the English letter D, da. Not always. Make sure you do in Sanskrit though. It should always be a dental da, tongue touching the teeth firmly. Examples of that in Sanskrit, I don't give any, but I do for the aspirated version. This is the da. Same as dental da, except there's a contraction of the diaphragm to boost the air. Da. And Sanskrit examples of that are Dhyayamo dhavalavagunthanavatim. Dhyayamo dhavalavagunthanavatim. You could actually hear a couple of other examples in that same word there, same Sanskrit mantra, which is here. Dhyayamo dhavalavagunthanavatim. You heard here an aspirated retroflex ta, guntha, guntha. And here you heard an aspirated dental da, dhya, dhya. And again, aspirated dental dha, dhyayamo dhava, right there. Dhavala, like that. So those are examples. The last one is very simple. It's just like the English letter N, basically, which is why it's written with the English letter N, except that the tongue, again, because it's dental, should be protruding forward and firmly against the back of the teeth. Na. Na, which we don't typically do necessarily in English N. No, a lot of people will just touch the palate, the roof of the mouth behind the teeth without coming into contact with the teeth and the tongue. Na is how it should be. Na. See how the tongue is actually touching the top row of teeth there. So that concludes the dental group of consonants. And next will be the labials. The next group of consonants we'll cover are called the labials, and they are found here at the top of this page, the next page. They are called labials because they are formed with the lips. Arising from the lips is what's written here. And labial, of course, means lips, having to do with the lips. I'm going to read across here. This is actually a very simple group for English speakers because these are, in fact, identical to the what we would find in English, what we would hear in English if we saw these same letters. P, p, b, b, m. I'm reading straight across there, all 5 of them. P, p, b, b, m. One more time. P, p, b, b, m. Now, we'll go through each one individually. The first one, pa, as in the English word pine. One note I'll make here, and I think I have it written here as well. Yes, I said Westerners tend to aspirate this letter pa. If you think about the way you say the word pine, if you're an English speaker, you notice that you do typically put a little extra air after the pa, pine, in the word pine, pine. Whereas the pure p sound should not have any air after it. It should be pine, as if we were saying the word pine. Notice how that's different from the typical English speaker would say pine, you can hear the air after it. So the point I'm making here is do your best to under-aspirate those consonants which do not have an H after them. And that will help to distinguish between the non-aspirated and the aspirated. Do that as much as you do increasing the aspiration of the ones that do have the H. In fact, some would say even put more attention on under-aspirating the non-aspirated ones than you do on adding aspiration to the ones that have an H after them. And the reason is because Westerners already tend to aspirate their consonants somewhat. So be aware of that and do your best to reduce the amount of extra air you add after the consonants when it does not have an H after them. I'm not giving any Sanskrit examples there on pine, and the next one is PH. Now this is the aspirated version. I give an English example as in the P-H in the combination of uphill, uphill. That's a pretty close example, even though it's a little contrived. Sanskrit example is spurat. Spurat. Yes, I can't remember where that comes from exactly, but spurat. I think it's from the meditation on 1,000 Names of Mother Divine. Mauli spurat. Yes, that's it. So, one more time to make it clear. Spurat. Spurat. I'm over-aspirating a little bit just so you can hear it in this video here, but that's what it is. The next one is ba, as in the English word bird. Ba. Very simple, identical to the English word. Nothing much to say about that one. The next one is aspirated version of that. Ba. Ba. Formed exactly as you would the non-aspirated version, ba, except that on the aspirated version you're going to contract your diaphragm a little and add some extra air, so it becomes ba, 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 which is different from pa. See, this one is pa, and this one is ba, pa, ba, pa, ba. The BH is, I give an English example as in the BH in rub hard. Kind of contrived, but it's okay. The next example I give is a Sanskrit example, prema bhakti, or just the word bhakti. Most people have heard the word bhakti. That's an example of the aspirated bh sound, bhakti. Now the last labial is written with the English letter M, and it's pronounced exactly the same as we pronounce the English letter M, so that's simple enough. Now that concludes all of the groups of consonants other than the sibilants or fricatives and the semivowels, which we will cover next.